every week just yet.
The what?
Sleep apnea.
Oh,
that was
okay.
the main
Okay.
thing behind why they want to go every week just yet. Because I sleep all the time, man. I mean, getting up when a normal person's up at 7:30, you know, I'm struggling to get out of bed at 9:30, quarter to 10 sometimes. So it gets frustrating because I can't get a damn thing done, you know. So I'm hoping I can get something straightened out with my CPAP. I've had it for a while.
Does that work, the CPAP?
It helps, but there's problems too. It dries out your passages and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's forcing air down here. It's warm in here.
It is warmer than usual.
I turned the heat off too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next time I'll just wear a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm kind of sweltering almost.
Yeah. But damn, sit down wearing something lighter.
Yeah, I turned the heat all the way off.
Yeah, we need it.
There you go, there your comments. People coming in, yeah, I got 15. We'll be live. I'm gonna bring your intro back in and then we're going back up.
Okay.
Okay. What do you say? I didn't hear that. What did you say before we going back up?
We on, I guess he was just referring to the fact that he was up. Nothing significant. Oh wow, that's way behind. Can you dig it?
And we are back after an extended break. Little technical difficulties, but we're back. You know, this is a miracle anyway. So everything else is icing on the cake. Brother Bill, we were talking about some
a whole lot of stuff. Yeah,
man. I don't even know where to take it up.
I can lead it back in if you don't mind. We were talking about, well, one of the things that came up was that you asked, will folks ever be ready for real history, and meaning from the larger society? And you know, sometimes I monitor, sometimes I watch TV, sometimes I monitor TV. And what I found is that NCIS, New Orleans, had a program last night where a white cop shot a black kid. And it turned out that the kid did not have a gun, he had a cell phone. So now that was a step in the right direction. Did it go all the way to reality? Nowhere near it. But it was a step toward, because historically it would have been that there was a gun there, but the black folks were being unruly, unreasonable. I mean, you look at Hill Street Blues, all these programs, you know, black folks are just insulting, you know, law and order. They just insult white cops all the time. And the cops just have to back their lips and take it, you know. And then you got all these preachers making all these demands, and you know, and they have to sit there and just take it, you know. And then they'll even say something like, "Well, I understand how he feels," you know. And that's one of the propagators of the zeitgeist, you know, of the ongoing, you know, thoughts of the moral universe here in America. So it was good in that the cop did not, you know, the boy did not have a gun. But now where it fell down was that when they finally showed the cop that he was wrong, he was so upset and crying, and it was good that they showed that he wasn't going to be punished, but it was bad in that he resigned because he just couldn't take it anymore in terms of his guilt over what he did. Now, most of the ones that kill us, you know, have long jackets of brutality that they have not been fired for and are quite happy to kill us. So the next step in the process would be when that cop would actually be racist. Plus, his main defender was a black guy. You know, so yeah, there was some progress, but it was also couched in what makes it comfortable or palatable. And then it ended with the boy's mother making a Martin Luther King type speech for hope for the future
Mhm.
and no anger, you know.
So how I see you're citing this particular
Yeah.
dramatic portrayal.
Uh-huh.
How significant do you think these kinds of dramatic and cinematic or even televised depictions of life in Black America?
Incredibly.
You
What
think
else
it's
do
very
they know
important?
about us?
Mhm.
What else do they know about us?
Mhm.
A lot of them go through life without meeting one of us. Or they may see us, but
So
they know us from television.
So those who say, man, we too concerned about our image on television, we should be more concerned about creating our own vehicles of expression than to be concerned about that. You don't find any. They may be missing a point. You're saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, do we need to create our own images? Absolutely. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that's wrong. Okay. But just, this thing of, we're going to dismiss what's going on, instead of analyzing it,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's to me, we're getting more and more intellectually lazy.
How important do you think, for example, as a film critic,
Mhm.
if your profession is a film critic to analyze various films that are coming out, a cinemaphile, you are
Mhm,
in it
mhm.
deeply. How important is a racial consciousness in examining these kinds of films?
Oh,
Like, for
critical.
example, did you see Ma Rainey's Black Bottom?
Absolutely.
What did you think?
Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. I mean, first I got to start with the language of my homeboy. Okay.
August Wilson.
Absolutely.
That's regional
Pittsburgh,
chauvinism.
yeah. Not just Pittsburgh, Hill District.
That's
Okay.
right, that's right.
That's the hood, baby.
Yeah.
I
But
can
there's been a
walk
lot
you by his house.
There's been a lot of criticism of the film.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man, a whole lot.
What's the
Whole lot.
problem?
Well, the first was the language, the N-bombs. They were gratuitous, many say. Also, the fact that it projected Ma Rainey in a very scrimped and unappealing fashion, from the makeup to her swagger and all of that. And number three, ironically, that it was a little bit too squeamish when it came to her homosexual tendencies. It didn't fully examine that in a way that was full-throated. And then Chadwick Boseman, that his depiction was of a typical kind of Stagger Lee character, and so I mean that's some of the criticism I've heard. I saw it and I liked it as well.
They missed the point. They really, I mean, and see, that's the other thing. We're so quick to criticize everything. Could the makeup on Viola Davis have been better? Probably, but
You call it raccoon makeup.
Yeah, well, I think that overdoes it. It might have been, they might have done it better, but wasn't enough to make a big deal out of, considering what the impact of that film / play.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they understood what the play was saying. Okay, I don't think they did. Particularly
what
with the
would it say to
Boseman
you?
character. It showed how the injustice and violence of white folks on us gets translated into the violence of us on each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw. As well as the well-documented thievery of our music.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I saw. And as far as her character, yeah, I mean, at first you looked at how she was acting, and you're like, wow, she's starting to get on my nerves,
Yeah, right.
But then as it progressed, you began to understand why she did
what she
did.
her activity.
Which was, what else did she have to fight with?
Mm-hmm.
She knew who they were and what they were doing, and as far as her homosexuality, who cares? Who cares? If they had more of it, you same people would have been saying, why are you always functioning on that? Why don't you
That's
listen,
true. That's true.
So, I mean, some of y'all just can't be happy. You just want to fuss about any kind of black representation. And quite frankly, it gets on my last nerve, And I mean, and I criticize stuff, but I at least try to be objective in my criticism, and I can point something out. Like I just showed you, what my thoughts were and why I thought that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just, you know, let me find something wrong with it. That is
Sure.
You know, as far as the gratuitous use of the N-word, given the time frame and what have you, and the way we talk, that's exactly how they talk.
As if when people make that criticism, as if an artist is not supposed to depict reality.
Right. So, and if they don't depict reality, then you're gonna be mad at them for that. It wasn't real. I mean, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't for some people.
Mm.
You know, and I think they need to look at why are they so critical. Are they that critical of white films?
Mm. Mm.
You know, do they really, you know, tear up, you know, the Mel Gibson movies or whatever?
There was a long post, man, that I slugged through that was critical of the movie for merely image reasons, for presentation. And that is, and we talked, me and Floyd was on the show a few days ago, and we were talking, Floyd Webb, and we were talking about black people's critical facility in terms of judging the value of a certain kind of aesthetic product, a certain kind of artistic presentation, like a film and, you know, like in any kind of a play or anything. First of all, it's always very difficult to film a play.
Absolutely. It doesn't translate well.
Absolutely.
You know.
It is one of those failures of cross-genre presentation
Yeah.
that we haven't figured out how to do yet.
It's not easy.
It's not
I mean,
easy.
it has to be opened up. A play is confined. All right. You know, a movie has to give you greater vistas.
And that's one of the criticisms
Yeah.
of this particular production, is that it didn't take advantage of cinema's latitude.
Well,
That's one criticism. But again, what the other point I was making is that from the perspective of positive images, that film, like for example, during the cultural nationalist period, we were concerned with art for therapeutic reasons. We wanted art to have a therapeutic impact on our community, not just art for art's sake, which
Right.
we said was a bourgeois affectation, you know.
Right.
And so a lot of people have taken that. Even now, they're demanding that be the highest aesthetic principle in anything that is
That's because they didn't
directed toward black
understand
people.
the movie.
It has to be a positive image, or else it is
That's
not worthy.
because they did not understand the movie. Okay, when you look at what was done to the Chadwick character, what was done to his family, what he carried around with him, and on top of that, the straw that broke the camel's back was when the man stole his music. On top of that, this boy was ready to. He was on the edge, the verge, throughout the whole thing, with damn good reason.
And the thing about it, though, is in the play, especially in the August Wilson play,
Right.
the dialogue carries a very heavy burden.
Yeah.
And all that history you just said was dialogue. And the cinema didn't take advantage. There were folks who said, man, they could have did some flashbacks to show Chadwin and these things, to give it to flesh it out more.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just a film play.
Well,
Really,
you know,
you know?
that could well be, and I really hadn't thought of that. I mean, that might be valid. I'm not saying it isn't, but having said that, all I can say is that I enjoyed it. I thought it was incredibly powerful, and I thought it was illuminating. You know,
It was also a kind of sexually satisfying too, you know. The Chadwick and that sister.
oh
you know?
yeah, and that was just interesting because of the whole thing of, you know, is he, you know, it's almost like in a movie where they break in somebody's office, you know, home, you know, are they gonna get away with it or are they gonna get caught, that sort of thing, you know.
It was on the piano too.
Right.
Nuance. You
Yeah,
know?
and then you, as far as that goes, how many of those blues singers in those days weren't lesbians? How many of them were not? You know, I mean, Bessie Smith.
Oh, for real.
Okay, I mean, on down the line to, you know, not just blues.
And these another aspect of it that they didn't get into, which they could have, and they touched a little bit, and that is how blues was received by the black bourgeoisie. For the most part, they rejected it. They dismissed it. Dismissive of it.
But see, once again, how much you gonna put in one movie?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I mean,
Or
well,
one
they could've
play.
showed this,
In
they
one
could've
play,
showed that,
in one play.
yeah.
August Wilson, one of his geniuses is the ability to slide that in the dialogue.
Yeah.
But you can't That means
Yeah.
nothing in a movie.
Right, and why are you looking at it like that? I mean, you got the fundamental concepts here, and then nuances thrown
But
in
don't
here
you
and
think?
there.
Wouldn't you agree with those who say it underutilized the value of cinema or the
I'm saying that's
latitude?
a valid point that I hadn't thought of.
Mhm.
That's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's a valid point that I hadn't thought of, and the idea of actually showing some of those things as opposed to just him telling it.
Mhm.
That's an interesting idea. I had not thought of that.
But Hollywood has so much reverence for August Wilson these days, so they don't
Yeah.
want to tamper with his words or his
Right,
concepts. So
right.
they give
And
him that
rightfully
deference.
so. Rightfully so. I mean, the
Rightfully
man was
so.
a genius.
Rightfully
He
so.
really was, and he needs to be taught in schools along with Eugene O'Neill and these other
But
people.
I don't know if you remember this piece in the New Yorker by Henry Louis Gates, in which he was comparing August Wilson's Au revoir with like Tyler Perry, the theatrical performance versus the church stage play, that kind of thing.
Right,
And
right.
which one is the most popular in black communities? Which one attracts the largest
Well, we know
audience?
which one does.
Which one?
Do I have to say it?
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because it's easier to comprehend. It's written, it's not intellectually challenging. And I've talked about Tyler Perry's work before,
Mhm.
where I said, I'm not as critical of him as I used to be,
Mm-hmm.
because he's put a lot of people to work.
A whole lot.
And
He's doing a whole lot of philanthropic things.
Yes, he
way
does.
beyond.
A whole
beyond.
lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And on a certain level, his work is didactic, because on a certain level, these are very, very simple messages.
Mhm.
But a whole lot of us need those messages.
Mhm. Those
I
moral and
Yeah,
digest.
just real basic stuff that
Mhm.
needs to be taught. I used to work in child welfare. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about.
So it is therapeutic art with
Yes,
Tyler's music.
yes,
Mhm.
for a certain
And do you think
element
that
of
do you
the
think
audience.
that diagnosis or that prescription of that we require art that is therapeutic, not merely concerned with aesthetics?
Well,
How do you
I've always
feel about that?
said, I've always said on a certain level that we have to look at films a little differently. Some
Mhm.
films are like, its value, for our community versus the quality of the film. If you leave that alone, if you take that aside from it, how good a movie is this, and what have you? Strictly Business. I think
Mhm.
it was a decent film. It wasn't a great film, but it was a decent film. But the messages were so strong and so powerful that it made a great film for me. I don't know if you know that.
I don't remember.
Holly Berry.
Eddie Murphy.
No. The guy who played the ultra conservative Negro who played Tommy. Tommy Davidson was in it. Yeah, the guy who was Cosby's son-in-law on the Cosby Show, ultra conservative.
Malcolm.
No, son-in-law.
Oh,
son-in-law.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, he was a head of African Americans for George Bush in real life. But it was about the friendship between an upwardly mobile Philip something. It was Philip something. I know.
Okay.
Anyway, an upwardly mobile person in his real estate firm, and his friend who was like the hood brother.
Mhm.
And it turned out that he was trying to be like the white folks, and it turned out the only people he could trust were black folks, and
Mhm.
he had condescended to some black folks who turned out to be bank owners who backed the project.
So it was a good message.
It was a hell of a good message, and so I look at a film like that and I say, yeah, I need for more of us to see that, As far as what I was going to say about Tyler Perry's work, and I've said this before, is, I ain't knocking nothing he does, but it would be nice if he could inject some texture. The
Meaning.
heroes don't have to be 100% hero. They can have some flaws, and
Mhm.
let your bad guys, have some good qualities.
Mhm.
As it is, the villains are like Trump.
They're cartoonish.
They're all bad. When I say like Trump, that's what I mean. They're
Mhm.
totally evil.
You don't give them no latitude. Huh?
Oh Lord, no. But you know, and because I think we need that in terms of our intellectual maturity, and you know, that's why I talk about language the way I do. You know, dealing with the basics, and people resist. You know, people. I've had people, you know, say, I post.
Well, what about a movie like Moonlighting or a Moonlight, or movies with a more ambiguous moral?
Moonlight was
sentiment?
was that Cher movie?
No, that was the brother Marshala Ali, when he was kind of mentoring this cat who was gay, this young brother who was gay. It won an Academy Award. Mahershala Ali, yeah. It was you know one. It was kind of and then it was an independent project that blew up, really. This is, you know, and it won the Academy Award.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, no,
but
it
was a very understated flick.
Yeah.
And it was primarily about the coming of age of this young brother who had homosexual tendencies. He didn't know what to do with them, and blah blah blah. You know, of course, some of the criticisms of its success is the fact that it is in line with this alleged intention of white Hollywood to effeminize black men.
Well, that's because they do.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the problem. But see, what happens when you have such a dearth of quality films, each film has to take on more weight than a film can hold. Mm-hmm. You know, one film can't, you know, I mean, I remember people talking about The Cosby Show. I mean, it was like, they were reaching for the stars for issues that this show wasn't taking care of, you know. Mm-hmm. But overall, it was a great show. You know, did it have its flaws? Yeah. You know, but overall, it was a positive representation.
Man, I know you're familiar with the other side of that argument.
Yeah.
So I won't even.
But but see, if you go to the other side, you still gonna have the flip side of it, because they were looking at good times, going, you know, we don't all live in the projects. You know, and you know, I was talking about how Caucasians don't know us. I got a friend, or had a friend in Chicago, a very successful brother, who told me he ran into some white folks who thought he lived in projects because they had seen Good Times. And they thought everybody lived in projects. I mean, that's the level of unawareness, I mean, of ignorance that they have.
It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
Actually, the level is that particular instance wasn't, it was representative. You know, and that's the point I'm making. You go out, I think there are... So
you're saying, in a lot of ways, you're saying that the popular culture has a duty to represent African Americans in a more variegated way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what about these interracial commercials? What's your opinion of that?
Yeah, I think they're going way too far with that. You know, I mean, I think that, and I mean, just they're all interracial, and the couples you see, if they're not interracial, they're gay. Okay, and I'm not anti-gay at all. You know, but you know, there may be just a bit of over-representation given the fact that they do try to emasculate us, and for various reasons, and that's historically been the case, you know, and we can promote positive heterosexual images without demeaning the homosexuals, because I mean, you know, the role that black homosexuals have played in our history is, you take them away, what we gonna have left? You know, I mean, really, from, you know, civil rights, you know, Bertrand Russell, right?
No, not Bertrand. We talking about this European giant.
But you know, Billy Strayhorn, James Baldwin. I mean, Baldwin had some other kind of issues, you know, that weren't too cool. But
like what?
Well, you know, the word has it that he had a habit of taking young men to Europe.
Oh, okay.
And then telling them, you know, you better put up. You know, you're gonna be what was it? Mom baby said you're gonna be a Camel or a Chesterfield. From those old commercials. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. No.
Anyway,
but I do remember Camels and Chesterfields. And
one of them said, you know, Camel I walk a mile for a camel, and Chesterfield was satisfied. So she said, you know, they get them to say, well, you're gonna be a camel or a camel or a Chesterfield, and what that mean? He said, you gonna satisfy or you gonna walk that mile?
Okay, all right.
You know, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they'd be stranded unless they put out. So,
Mhm.
but we can't, get into that anti-gay kind of thing, But
Especially given that many of the leading black organizations of recent years are very overtly pro-LGBT
Right.
in their perspective.
right,
And that's, as people would say, this is not your grandmother's liberation movement.
right,
that kind of
right,
thing.
right. Of course, the flip side of that is that some of them have gone overboard with that and left behind the general, concerns of the African American community. Obama was accused of that, paying more attention to them.
Well, that's because they pressed him.
Yeah.
the black
Well,
community-
you couldn't get black folk to press him
Absolutely.
because
We considered his victory a civil rights victory, and so we wanted to rest on our laurels. We want to threaten his position.
it was a religion. It was a religion. It became black Obama supporters became a milder version of Trump supporters.
Cult-like, indeed.
Absolutely. And you said something bad about him.
Mhm.
Oh Lord, you know how much?
Cornel West, man, he's a perfect example.
Well, yeah, but that's different because Cornel West was acting a fool. I mean, he was.
See now, there you go. There.
Yeah,
and,
well,
and I guess my man, what's the other cat?
Tavis.
Travis Smiley. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if you heard the way that they talked
I
about
did
him,
hear it. I did hear it.
Okay, they didn't have anything good to say about him. I criticized him, but I also said that he did some good things.
Mhm.
They were ferocious, and they haven't criticized anybody before or since.
Oh, that's not true.
The way they did him, or at least it's not being publicized.
That
okay?
may be true.
Okay,
Yes.
that's true.
Mhm.
Okay, but we know that Tavis got really upset with him when he didn't show up to his World Festival or whatever it was, and tried to send Michelle Obama in his place. And Tavis was like, "No, you coming, or else you persona non grata." And then I'm just okay. All right, I'm wrong. Okay.
But hold it. Don't get so sensitive.
No, I mean, you over here doing all that. What am I gonna say? I mean, what else am I gonna do? I mean, and the same thing happened with
What was I doing? I like that.
like
that's
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah. What I'm gonna say? It's kind of hard to talk to somebody that's doing that, homie.
No,
But I mean, okay.
Whenever I wince when you make these kinds of unequivocal judgments. That's all. I wince.
Okay, but it's hard to keep going when you wincing to death.
I'm worried
You can
about
give me
you.
a semi-wince, but you giving me a wince on steroids.
Well, I thought my wince was rather subtle, but perhaps
Yeah, well,
it
you were
wasn't as
wrong. I know, and there I go again, right? There I go again. Binary, right?
brother. Yeah. I think. Well.
But that's kind of what we're up against, and that's also why, I put such an emphasis on language, because I think when you are more disciplined in your language, you're more disciplined. Period.
Yes.
And what we're talking about a lot is a
Discipline
lack
in
of
your thinking.
and what we're talking, because that's how your thoughts get formed.
That's right.
Okay, and I think what we're lacking increasingly is discipline, intellectual discipline.
Mm.
Okay, and that's where most of what we've been talking about, when you take all the sugar off of it, is lack of intellectual discipline. And the thing that I point out, and this may freak you out a little bit, but like I said, something that hasn't, but when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when they asked him about John Wooden as his college coach,
Mm-hmm.
the story that he would always tell is that at the beginning of every season, Wooden started the season off with the same lesson. And you know what that was?
What was that?
How to properly tie your shoes.
Mm.
Every year.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there 4 years, and your fourth year, you start the season off with, this is the way you, and it wasn't no 2-minute lesson. They spent time
Wow.
tying those shoes. Okay? Now, if we begin to understand the profundity of that,
Explain the profundity of that.
Well, what do you think it is?
I'm here to learn.
Oh, you don't say that when you don't like what I'm saying. Hey!
Wow, that's a new expression. You know. I didn't know. So explain the profundity.
The meticulousness of the small things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the detail to the letter and beyond. Okay, when we can get to that, then we have that solid foundation upon which to build our intellectual houses. Okay, but that's where it starts. I mean, I pick up, I swear, you go on Facebook, man, and it's like, I might be there, MITE. We need two of them, TO. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. I used to go with a girl from Cameroon. She spoke 3 languages. I had another friend from Guyana. I think she spoke 4. And the friend from Cameroon had a buddy who he spoke 7.
Well, the definition of American is monolingual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were in Mexico, and it's, they always take you around to Puerto Vallarta. They always take you around to these little places where they could get you to spend more money. And we're getting off the bus, and the white woman behind us, they say Buenos Dias to everybody. And the man said, Buenos Dias to this white woman, and she said, oh no, we're American.
Yeah, that's the attitude. Exactly.
That's deep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, deep is a good place to end up and begin when we come back. Going upwards toward the surface, right?
Yeah, especially if I can, say something that ain't gonna make you wince so bad.
Man, I like those wincing expressions that you adopted. I like that. We'll be back right after this. Man, I didn't know I was wincing that.
Ooh, Lord, go ahead.
No. See, I think you're sensitive because when you are doing these unequivocal judgments that are unjustified.
Well, I don't have a problem with them because they're not unjustified in my mind.
But that means that you are rejecting the possibility. What you do is you disclose the fact that your ego may be barking up the wrong tree. That's not a mystical position to take, brother.
Well, I
consider you an urban mystic.
Well, okay, I like to think I have that quality, but having said that, also
urban mystics are not unequivocal.
Well, how you gonna call
no
something
mystic
and tell me I ain't
unequivocal.
that? Sure you can be. I'm unequivocal about the concept of connection.
Huh? Really? Wow.
Thank you.
You all heard that, right?
And as you can see, I was right.
Well, maybe we should be quiet.
Yeah, maybe.
Since people can hear us. Urban mystic.
But it's all healthy. So what are we doing here? John Legend. They're doing a thing on, oh, sorry, you can't hear me. Losing Bill Withers. Bill Withers was so special.
Say that?
Bill Withers, he was so special.
Oh man, for real. And we are back. Salim Muwakkil here in Muwakkil'S world with my routine antagonist, Brother Bill Griggs.
I'm the victim here.
We're chalking it up. This brother is bringing all kind of dimensions to the conversation. I appreciate it so much. Hey man, why are black people so anti-vaccine?
The history. The history. Everybody points to Tuskegee and just a general mistrust. And they know how this country has always been toward us. And so anything that comes out new, they, you know, they're gonna be reticent. Dionne Warwick said she wouldn't take it unless some other folks took it first. But I have a problem with that. I have a real problem with that. And I think, once again, because we're not thinking things through. Because the bottom line is, the virus is wiping us out like crazy. We're dropping like flies, so why in the hell are you worried about a vaccine? The virus is doing the job. What, they're gonna give you a vaccine that's gonna kill you faster? I mean, seriously, you know, that doesn't make any sense, but we don't think through. We you know, we react to stuff emotionally, you know, and just, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that we just deal with it on an emotional level, you know, whether it was, you know, not being able to distinguish Biden from Trump because we sick of the Democrats, you know, and or this thing of not taking, if the virus wasn't wiping us out, I could dig it. But we're dropping like flies. I mean, we are dropping like flies. And 1/10 of 1% of the population has died from the virus.
It's been the deadliest year in history.
Yes. And
that's
most
amazing. A
of
lot of
them
people really haven't stopped to consider exactly what that means.
1/10 of 1% from a virus? Man, how deep does it have to get? You know, so what's the vaccine gonna do to you? You know what? Make you die faster? You know, I mean, come on. You know, I mean, I know about, give or take, about a half dozen people that have died from that virus, if not more. And I know you know some.
I do.
You know, nobody, there's no black person I know that doesn't know somebody.
A good friend of May's, we just found out today, very good friend of May's just succumbed to the virus.
Right. So, given that reality, does it really make sense to say you're not going to take the vaccine?
Well, there are those who say, well, this is just them experimenting, and they want us to be the guinea pigs.
Well, number one, they're getting it to everybody. And number two, like I said, we're dropping like flies already. And number three, they dropping too. You know, I think one of the things that happened in the past was the way they dealt with AIDS during the Reagan era, because the perception was that it's primarily homosexuals and or drug users, but it's not going to affect us. And that's that culture of disconnection that is so rich with them. So they were slow. And then what happened? A whole bunch of folks that didn't have anything to do with homosexuality or drugs wound up dying from AIDS. Now you got to speed it up. And same thing they did with this, you know. But we got to get on the case. I mean, like I said, there is no argument for not taking the vaccine given the rate that we are dropping from this disease.
And dropping even faster and more rapidly, faster and more extensively than us are Native American populations. And they too are reluctant to take the vaccine.
Yeah, well, you know, smallpox and all that, and just a general disbelief of the white medical establishment, which, you know, I mean, there was a story on recently where a black doctor.
Yeah.
You saw that?
I did see that. And she died. She complained about disparate treatment, and then she died soon thereafter.
Yeah, you know, and then the hospital said, well, we're going to have anti-racial training. Really? Who going to conduct it? You know, hey, Fox, make sure them hens are safe. Gotcha.
So, you think we should embark on a vigorous campaign to convince us to take the vaccine? And you know, using your logic, but also the fact that not taking it is endangering black people.
Everybody else, no, we should. We need to take it, you know. And then, you know, I don't know how many of these, you know, so-called intellectuals are going to come up with some history of why we shouldn't be taking it, and, you know, I mean, the same people who.
So why do you say so-called intellectuals? This is what I'm talking about, Bill. These kind of.
You just love that, don't you? Yeah. I mean, you really love
these reflective dismissals of other people.
I said so-called intellectuals. Now you're free to interpret that.
I'm asking you, what do you mean? I'm asking you, what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? I'm saying that those people who have whose fundamental levels of assumptions, I think, me personally, without God-like status, believed to be inaccurate. Okay? Now, based on that, I think they are so-called intellectuals. The ones who could not distinguish between Biden and Trump are so-called intellectuals.
How was that went?
Well, it wasn't as bad as the other one.
Okay, that's a moderate win.
Yeah, you really need to work on that. You know,
No, I'm trying to be as winceful as I possibly can.
Yeah, winceful.
Winceful.
No, we ain't going there, man.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
all right.
but no, I mean, I can provide empiricism as to why I feel that
They're so-called intellectuals.
Yeah, if you couldn't distinguish between Biden and Trump,
No.
I mean that's an example. That's an easy example. Okay, then I can empirically say that your assumptions are fallacious.
All right. So we are empirically running out of time, my brother. That is an empirical fact.
And not a binary one.
We'll be back again. You know me and Bill are gonna come back again and continue this debate, this rivalry.
And this picking on the guests.
And
I don't have no show. Do I have a show? No, I ain't got no show. What am I? I'm a lowly guest.
So
I don't get no money. I don't get nothing.
So
all I get is put down. And I come back anyway.
So we appreciate your endurance and talk to you again soon. Until then, peace.
Ciao. Yeah, we getting kind of wild, but it's all good.